one of the gentlemen coming in, and he's a legendary broadcaster, especially in Saskatchewan, and then people in Winnipeg that are listening are going to love it. Dennis Beyak is back on the Sports Cage. Sorry to pull you off the golf course today, Dennis. What's the handicap at these days?
It should be way down, but I'm not even going to tell you what it is because it's not. There's no connection between how many games I play and what my handicap is.
I love it. Hey, this is going to be a great night coming up here in Regina.
I'll go back. I caught the end of your previous conversation.
Okay.
Did you guys mention John Konahowski?
No.
No.
Dave
That's a
Pickett?
first. No.
Pickett was mentioned, was he not?
Oh, was he? I think he was the first college player to be drafted by the CFL or anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move on to September 30th.
We did have some Picketts, and then lots of Ruben Mays still coming in from North Battleford.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night at the Connexus Arts Center. Tickets still available. Tables, because of Boss Lubricants, are down to $1,100 for a table of 8, $150 if you want to go. This event, Dennis, and I know you've been around the Western Canada Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation, just what they do and scouting in general. You know, your time in the game, whether it's broadcasting on the management side. You know, if you had to sum up how important these scouts were and what these guys meant and how it is now they're giving back, what would you say?
Well, there's two parts of it for me. First, when I was starting off in broadcasting in Flin Flon in the Western Canada Hockey League at that time, they were so generous of their time because we needed to fill intermissions. And what you'd do is you'd make the tour around the rink 45 minutes before the game and see who was there. And you got to know them a little bit, and you would ask them if they would come on your broadcast, and they would volunteer their time and come on. And it wasn't like today where they can keep up with their NHL teams on a very regular basis. They can watch the games, they can listen to the games, they get everything they want on social media. Back then, I would ask them about their NHL teams, but they really, they gave us good answers, but it wasn't like today where they could watch the games. So that was the first part of it. And they were all very generous of their time. And then, as you mentioned, once I got into management in the Western Hockey League, and it's even harder in the junior ranks than what it is in the National Hockey League, because you're going to tournaments and you're in the rink from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. And some of the rinks weren't that warm. You had to use a pencil because your pen would freeze, but you got through it. And I always made a point when I was general manager that somewhere in the middle of the afternoon, we're getting out of the rink for an hour and a half. We're going for something to eat, and we're going to get a cup of coffee, and we're going to get out of here for a little while. Because I think after a while, players all start to look alike. So, but even the NHL players, when you consider the NHL scouts, when you consider the roads they travel on in the wintertime from Swift Current to Regina to Saskatoon to Prince Albert, it's not as glamorous as it seems, but they put in their hours, they put in their time, and we all know how important they are come draft day, because it's their work that that general managers go on when it comes to making their picks.
And we're celebrating Indigenous hockey on September 30th, and it's the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. When you go back to all your time, Dennis, and you saw it, come through, and just talking to John Morasti last week, and talking to Rich Pilon, and there was the barrier there, and there still is, unfortunately. But when you think of Indigenous hockey players, when you were broadcasting and on the management side, any come to mind, any stories on how it was, different for these athletes?
Well, you know what? We didn't realize it at the time because they were now in the Western Hockey League, and you just kind of, at that time, felt that everybody had the same path. And then once you got into management, you realized, no, they didn't have the same path, because you would invite some players from La Ronge, or you would invite some players from the PAW. And they had when they said, no, we're not going to come, we just always assumed, well, they just don't want to play hockey. Well, that wasn't the case. They had reasons to stay home, and far-reaching reasons to stay home. in some, like I just finished reading Freddie Sasakamoos's book, Call Me Indian. And he explains a lot of what they went through growing up. The residential schools, they were taken away from home. They weren't around their families. So when it came to leaving home again to go play hockey, to them it was just another case of leaving home. And that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted to be home with their families. And in a lot of cases, eventually it got to the point where they realized there was an opportunity to do something in advance, and they would go. And that's when we saw the Ron DeLormes and the Brian Trottiers and more of those. But their road was not easy. I mean, we've all been in rinks. I'm way older than you guys. I mean, I remember some of the comments from some fans, and it wasn't pretty. And so it was their story was not as smooth as the stories that we would expect from a lot of other players.
There's obviously going to be, the hot stove, and there's going to be some great stories on this evening. And you've interviewed, I'm sure you've been around a lot of these guys, but are you intrigued? Are you looking forward to hearing anybody speak and maybe stories from one of the guys coming on September 30th?
Well, I've been at a couple of events with Brian Trottier, and he's got a lot of great hockey stories. The King brothers is a great hockey story. And Jordan Tutu is a great hockey story. And we're going to hear some of those hockey stories. I mean, I enjoy listening to Brian Trottier just because, as we did with the foundation dinner in July, the night with the Sutters, there's so many great stories about the New York Islanders. We talked about it with Wayne Sutter. And so now you get a chance to hear Brian Trottier talk about the days with the New York Islanders. Ronnie DeLorme's great career with the Vancouver Canucks as a scout. And still at it. So there's going to be a lot of those great stories, the hockey stories that we kind of know a little bit about, but it's the other stories that we're going to try and get into a little bit. And Clarence Iron, who does NHL play-by-play in Cree, is going to be part of the hot stove panel with me asking some of these questions. So I'm kind of looking forward to some of his stories as well. So, but there will be some laughs. We know that. You know what players are like when they get together. They all like the locker room, and they all like to tell stories. So there will be some laughs, and I'm sure there will be some tears. But it'll be a great night.
So Dennis, when I saw that you were going to be on today, the first thing I kind of thought of was, for somebody who's been around the game and has called a lot of games, I hate to put you on the spot, but the thing I thought of was, if you had a DeLorean, and you could go back, and both in hockey and outside of hockey, a game that you would have loved to have called, or a sporting event, non-hockey related, that you would love to have been the broadcaster for. Is there anything that you can think of that would be like, that would be the one, or that I would have loved to have called that game?
Yeah, good. You know what? I think the Olympics would kind of fall into that category. Obviously, the easy answer is Hockey Night in Canada. I never did get to do Hockey Night in Canada games. So, so that would be the easy one. But I think the Olympics would be another one. As far as other sporting events, I was a big CFL fan, NFL fan, but that really wasn't where I was going in broadcasting. So I would think Stanley Cup, playoffs, and certainly now I did playoffs on radio, and I did some NHL playoffs for TSN, but not where you get to the point where in Hockey Night in Canada, you're crawling it right down to the finals. And the Olympics, I guess, would be the other one. As far as a game itself that I didn't call but was there, was the year that Edmonton beat Dallas on Todd Marchand's goal in overtime. After Curtis Joseph makes the big save off Joe Nieuwendyk. I was there, and it was exciting, but I wasn't calling that game because it was a playoff game. So, but I think the Olympics, from a broadcasting standpoint, I guess that would be considered the cream of the crop.
I think was that poor Grant Ledyard or Chamber?
Yep.
I was a Stars fan that he just blew right by and then beat John
Andy
Casey or Andy Moog.
Was it John Casey?
I think it was Andy Moog. I can't wait for September 30th. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, tickets are available. Western Canada Professional Hockey Scouts Foundation online. Tables are still available. You might not have called those games, Dennis, but not everyone can say that they called the Waldheim snowmobile races.
Exactly. And you know what the funny part about that was? On the same weekend, the Canadian Volleyball Championships were on at the U of S. So Wide World of Sports wanted something on both events. So they actually had a helicopter that picked me up at the U of S and took me out to Waldheim to get back there in time to do the finals.
I love it.
I still have the Yamaha snow suit that they gave me. It doesn't fit anymore, obviously. But that was... It was, it was an amazing event, how they built the track and everything else, but we'll save that one for another day.
That was he told it on the Monday Nooner. It was so good. Kay, can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for doing this, Dennis.
Thanks for your help and look forward to all the people in Regina kind of getting behind this event because it's going to be a good one.
Right on. Hit them straight. Stay down on it, right? Through impact. Stay down on it.
I wish that was my only concern.
Awesome stuff.